Hey there, happy students. I'm just doing a kind of a brief ISN review over the stuff that should already be in your ISN regarding your test tomorrow. You have a test tomorrow that covers geography and early colonization. These are notes that I'm guessing are on page 14 and 15 because that's what this says in your ISN. Hopefully you're going to be kind of at least going in the same order as your ISN, so if you can find this page. What you need to focus on here is rivers, and you need to be kind of looking at all of this: rivers, mountains, and coastlines. Why are they valuable? Why are they important? Why are we going to see that cities develop along both of these? How would it impact trade relations? Trade, we're seeing transportation is a big deal. Trade hub. Mountains slow the movement of people. They act as a geographic barrier. What mountains specifically have we talked about that slowed the movement of early colonists? We spoke specifically of the Appalachian Mountains. So that's on that page, kind of reviewing that. The next thing you received this little paper in class. Spain came in the year 1492. England came in 1607 at Jamestown. France came in 1608. And we've talked about, guys, Spain came for the 3 Gs. England came for land and money, or gold. And then France came for the fur trade. And that's primarily the reasons that they stayed. That is a very lackadaisical version of that. But y'all, that's still something, review, look over it, be sure you at least have an understanding of why these groups came. Next, we talked about the political, social, and economic reasons that England settled. Guys, again, this is specific for England. I know it says 9-5, but that's not necessarily true. Next things I want you guys to look at here. Political means power. We talked about that. We talked about the acquisition of territory. We had you guys learn that word, the promise of gold in Jamestown. Social. We've spoken a lot about freedom from religion, especially in regards to the Pilgrims. Economic, we've talked very specifically about mercantilism, which is what we're going to be covering next. Y'all, all of this, you should know the other pieces. You still need to know the other pieces. I'm telling you, I'm going through and highlighting what I think are the big things for you to know. You still need to know political, social, and economic. You need to know what these words mean. And I'm trying to work within a time frame here, so give me that. Mercantilism. I already have a video on my website that talks you through this. Really, guys, what I would like for you to know is I'd like for you to be able to look at this and at least have an understanding of what do the colonies send. What do the colonies send? What does England send back to the colonies? What begins to grow? We're talking about this right here. What are the colonies not allowed to have? Down here, who are they not allowed to trade with? All of this, I want you to have an understanding that this refers to mercantilism. The idea of not being able to trade with France and Spain. I'm going to call them France and Spain. I don't know why. The triangular trade, what I'd like you to know, and what I think we'd all like you to know, it is the trade of goods. Guys, this is a very rundown version of this. There's much more complicated versions, and there's some versions that connect the West Indies to Africa, but for our purposes, I need you to know rum, and the other thing is molasses, and slaves. It is the movement of rum, molasses, and slaves. This right here, the middle passage, this, according to your notes, was the most important part of the whole triangular trade, so this, you need to know what 3 things it was. And then this right here is the shipment of slaves from Africa to New England. That, guys, this was a part of it that kind of kept the whole ball rolling. And I have a little triangle for a triangular trade. Yay! Again, moving on. Next thing, Jamestown. Jamestown, if we're looking at this, it's a joint stock company. That is an important word. And guys, I apologize for the bells. We're in the middle of open house here, so if you hear the principal come on, that's what that is. They were given permission to start an English settlement, and that was through the Virginia Charter. That was through the Virginia Charter that they were allowed to have that. It's located in present-day Virginia. John Smith, we have a lot of information about John Smith. John Smith is very impressive man. In fact, the Powhatan chief was really impressed with his self-confidence. When he returns, and he ends up getting like abducted by the Powhatans in 1607. The chief really likes him. The tribe really likes him. And when he comes back to the settlement, everything's gone awry. He assumes command, and gives a policy of rigid discipline in an attempt to save Jamestown. He's famously said, "He who does not work, neither shall he eat." That's his line about if you don't work for the good of the colony, you don't eat. They're going to thrive under his leadership for the next year. They're going to become sustainable. That is the word that we use with him, is sustainable. He makes the land sustainable. However, he ends up having to leave, and when he leaves, we enter the starving time. We will not find official success until John Rolfe comes in 1612. John Rolfe comes with tobacco from the West Indies. The crop is sent to England, where it's well received. It becomes a cash crop. He's going to make them profitable. He's going to make the land profitable for them. Now, because the land, it's growing, it's expanding so quickly, they are going to create the House of Burgesses, which is the first form of representative government in America. Now, another important word that we learned here is that it is an example of salutary neglect. The House of Burgesses, because everything's expanding so quickly, the House of Burgesses, y'all, that is the thing that goes through, and it's a representative form of government. Every town is going to send somebody to work on this council. This is an example of salutary neglect, which is when the king kind of ignores the colonies, lets them do their own thing. He kind of neglects or ignores them for a set amount of time until he decides that he wants to have a say in their lives again. So, rough and tumble times. Moving on from Jamestown. Boom. Okay. Plymouth. We have the fact that we have people that are unhappy with the Anglican Church, are called dissenters. We have, and this does not look necessarily like your notes, but we're gonna go with it. We have two groups of people who were going to leave and escape their land and go to the colonies, and that's the Puritans and the Pilgrims. A separatist and a pilgrim are the same thing. Because they settle outside, they land outside the territory of the Virginia Company, they mean to kind of settle within that area of the Virginia Company, but because they don't, they end up having to create their own political document called the Mayflower Compact, which is going to pledge loyalty to England, self-government majority rule, and declare their desire for a civil body politic, and this all happens in 1620. Again, this phrase here, guys, civil body politic, shows up everywhere. You need to know it. You need to understand it. It just simply means self-government. Members are going to come together and serve as a group for the general good of the colony. And then we also have Squanto and Samoset, where the Native Americans who had a positive relationship with the Pilgrims, who are going to help them survive and learn how to plant goods. Be sure you know your dates. Be sure you know when stuff happened. Again, guys, this is not a be-all, end-all review. Please go over everything. These are the things, though, that you should be able to recite back. These are just the things that I want you to highlight, I want you to look into. Read it all as a story, though, because that will help you. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. I hope you were looking in your ISN as we got through this. Have a great evening.